Hey, I'm Fred.
And I'm Ant.
And this is Creator Generation.
Create a generation of hype.
All right, Frederico, what's happening this week?
This week we're chatting with ChoppA from CakesBy ChoppA, who is an OG YouTuber and has some very interesting stories.
There's a lot of people that want to be a creator now because it's a stepping stone to get somewhere. And a lot of people think it's an easy job. They soon learn that it's not. Yes, it's the greatest job in the world, but there's a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see.
Just a quick note, this is a cut down version of this interview. If you want to check out the whole podcast, head on over to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you can check it out there. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Creator Generation. This week we are joined by none other than ChoppA from CakesBy ChoppA.
How you going, guys?
ChoppA, can you introduce yourself? Because, well, I kook it every time.
Sure. My name's ChoppA. I'm from Sydney. I've been a content creator since 2006. I've done a lot of different types of content, but gained a bit of success with some cake decorating.
You are like OG YouTube creator, really, for an Australian, I reckon.
Yeah, I actually haven't met a person who started their channel earlier than myself.
Hey, you've never met a person anywhere?
Anywhere, because I opened my channel like 5.5 months after YouTube was launched in America.
Right. And what was on your channel when you first started?
Oh, my first ever video was us at Christmas drinking out of a bucket. It's okay, you can laugh. I know how bad that was.
So you didn't start with the cake destiny. It was like
No, I did not. I think it was just a natural progression of YouTube at the time. The response videos were a big thing, and we would honestly make a video, someone would respond to that, then you'd respond to theirs, and then you'd be like, oh, we can have a bit of fun with this. So you'll get a wig or you put on a character, and of course Americans love the Australian boganisms, so we put out some bogan content. I dressed as a woman a few times. We were just doing like really outlandish stuff.
Right.
For the sake of it, just because it was fun.
And you were going to be because of that, or maybe in spite of that, you were going to be the first Australian YouTuber on TV, because it wasn't a thing.
Yeah, because you all remember challenge videos, right?
Yes.
So in this
little
little
thing, dude, come on, they're not.
Well, they're not to the level they were. They used to be like more intense. We had this little community because at the end of 2007 there was a mini meetup it was a big meetup in Melbourne, first ever gathering in Australia, and you got to meet other people that were doing the same thing as you. And you think 2007, this was a weird concept to pull your camera out and film yourself, or even proclaim that you're a YouTuber. It was just not normal. So I think it gathered a certain type of people. And we got this little group together, which used to be called Aussie Tubers. And it was like we'd just get on camera every other night. It was just fun. And one of the members of that group was an American that was coming here. And being a smarty pants, he's like, oh, look, I'm Aussie too, and ate a teaspoon of Vegemite. So one of our mates responded with, oh, you think you're Aussie? I'll do 2. And then another mate went, you call yourself Australian? I'll do 4. Then ChoppA enters the chat and goes, guess what? I'm going to do a whole jar. And that got a lot of attention. And I got the invite to go on this TV show. But there was another creator that was like, oh, I'm going to eat a jar and a bit, just so I beat ChoppA. And I was like, I will not be beaten. I am going to eat 2 jars and time it. Because I'm very competitive. I remember filming that video, eating the 2 jars and editing straight away. Vegemite's dangerous in that sort of quantity.
I can
I was
imagine.
starting to shake. I was starting to get the sweats.
Yeah,
Really?
that's a tremendous amount of salt you've ingested in that amount of time.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. I had a friend that's a nurse, and she's like, whatever you do, just have some yogurt that you can eat straight afterwards to try and counteract everything. And she's like, you're an idiot, don't do it. So Dad, love you, you saved my life. But one of the worst things, we're gonna go into the TMI, because that's the kind of person I am. Eating Vegemite's fine. trying to throw up warm Vegemite.
Oh,
It's a challenge. It's a challenge in itself. I honestly swear that video nearly killed me.
Oh my god, that is horrid. For the Americans who are listening, like, can you explain what Vegemite actually is so they understand it?
It's a byproduct of beer that is thick like peanut butter and is very salty and very yeasty.
Delicious. And you normally have it in small quantities
Yeah.
in a roundabout way. We were talking about Vegemite, but we're actually meant to be talking about TV.
Well, it was the Vegemite video that got the attention, as I was saying. And then I did the 2 in 3 minutes. Oh, we got sidetracked because I was telling you about throwing it up. But let's move on from that.
Not relive that.
So I filmed that and edited that video that day. And I remember I clicked upload. It was taking forever. It was featured on the front page of YouTube 30 seconds after it was uploaded.
What?
Really?
Yeah, because the homepage used to have a featured section of 5 days.
Yeah.
And they had a video that was on that for the day. Then it moved down a slot for the next day. And you were there for 5 days.
Oh.
So that got quite a bit of attention, and that's how that story came about. And there's a lot of people that don't understand. In my cake intro, it says "Chopper for the win."
Yeah.
Well, that actually came from that Vegemite video because I had people cheering me on, saying, "Come on, Chopper for the win."
So what made you, besides being like, okay, I love making content and getting it out there and sharing it, but it's kind of like, I'm not proud of this stuff. What made you then flip to cakes? Like, why? Where did cakes come from? Like, was that
okay? So I've made cakes with my mum forever, like since I was a little kid. I used to draw the patterns for her. She'd do all the baking, decorating, and all that sort of stuff. So I just picked up things on the go. Part of that want to make content, I wanted to film a video, but I had to make a cake for one of my students because I used to be a kindy teacher. And I was like, oh, I'll just put the camera and record it and just speed it up and upload that. That'll be fine. So I did that, didn't think anything of it. Didn't really attract many comments or anything. And through these partner meetings that YouTube put on, Rob Nixon was talking at the one I'm specifically talking about. And they were like, if you want to be like Rob and make this a business and make it something that you can build, make sure your content's family friendly. Can you repeat it and keep it fresh? And is it something you love doing? They were the 3 top tips that they gave us that night. And this is the first partner meeting that I didn't go to and see as a party. So I was paying attention. And I went home and I looked at my top 5 videos. 4 of those were not family friendly. They were full of like colorful language. They were inappropriate topics. And coming in at number 3 was the cakes. And I was like, because back then the cake video got like 40,000 views. And at the time that was massive.
huge? Yeah.
And I was like, what? How's this gone unnoticed? Like, I could totally do this. I'm a creative guy. I can come up with these ideas. Didn't know a thing about cake decorating in a serious sense. I'd never even touched fondant at that time. So it was quite a ballsy act to go, I'm just going to dump this and become a cake decorator. Yeah, but it was under heavy guidance from Rob Nixon, who you guys know.
And yeah, shout out to Rob that's Nico's Kitchen. If you want to,
he is my YouTube idol. That man is a genius. That man is a great bloke. Can't speak highly enough of him.
He's a great creator, and he has a lot of time for helping others as well on the platform. So
funny you say that. Because do you just want a scoop that I've told friends, close friends, but I've never told people publicly. So you just want a
tell
scoop?
the world. I love a scoop.
Okay. So me thinking that the boganisms and the whole Aussie bloke thing was kind of funny, I was going to start my cake channel and call it Bitches Love Cake. And I made the branding up. I got all excited about it. I sent it off to Rob and I was like, check out this, bro. This is funny. And he's like, Chop, no. I'm not letting you, no. Just outright, no, don't do that. And I was like, oh, what am I going to call it? Oh, CakesBy ChoppA.
It's not that. What? It couldn't be anything else. I mean,
yeah, he strongly advised me not to do it. And I was like, oh, man, this would be so funny. I can just get drunk and make cakes. And I'm so glad he was my YouTube angel, stepped in and said, do not do that. Be responsible. So
Was that after the advice for your content to be family friendly?
yes.
It was a scoop I did not expect to hear.
I didn't expect to tell that.
So how did you get? Okay, how did you
His
get from there?
powers.
To then cake. Obviously, you had no background in real cake making. You're not a chef or a pastry person. So how did you go from there to like doing like full on cake videos?
Well, I mean, as you can see around my thing, I'm massive into pop culture and 80s cartoons and all that sort of stuff. Being a kindy teacher, I also had a finger on the pulse of what kids wanted. And the first 3 cakes that I made for videos were for students. And the first one I made was the Death Star cake, and I gave it to a little kid for his birthday. And he goes, "Chop, it looks great, but it didn't taste very good." So I was like, oh, damn, I really need to pick up my game and make this better. And it was actually the 3rd video, which was Spider-Man, that I made for a little girl. I posted that and it did nothing for like 3 months. And then all of a sudden it started gaining like 1,000 views a day, then 2,000, then 4,000, then 10,000. And it's currently at 41 million. Yeah. And so again, I was, from the 9 months from the day I posted my first video, I quit my job and became a full-time YouTuber.
Right. And like, how fast did the channel grow? Like, how did you?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I actually speak to a lot of people about this. When you're starting a channel, it's a good idea to have a clear direction of what you're putting out there. Because when I set the cake channel up, it was not set up for subscription. Like, I know that's the whole thing, get everyone to subscribe, blah, 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 blah. But I literally provide a service. So someone who comes to me for a Little Mermaid cake isn't going to want a Power Rangers or a Ninja Turtle. So it was very much, they came for one video, they got what they needed, they left. There was no incentive to subscribe or follow the journey. It was just stock standard. And that's something that I've slowly started to steer the channel towards, like, come back and see what I do next. But initially it was like, I wasn't worried about subscribers because I was doing so well with views. I mean, I've got 15 videos at well over 1 million.
So is the Spider-Man one still the most popular video?
Oh, by far.
Right.
By far. And I think it's like, it was just a really lucky choice, I think, because they had, 3 movies, 2 stage shows, cartoon releases. Like, there's been all these little tentpole events that have just kept it kicking along.
Yeah.
And not to cut it down, like, at the time, it was a great cake. It was quick, it was easy, it looked good for the time. Because I look at it now and I'm like, I cannot believe you uploaded that.
So once you started, you just taught yourself. There was no, any place you learned how to do it.
Yeah, I see that. And that's one of the things. I've got a friend, shout out to Cass. She's a cake decorator YouTuber in America. And she put it down to, she loved watching my videos because I wasn't a decorator. I wasn't afraid to try things. I didn't know any better. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So she's like, the way you approach things, you didn't just have that block up saying, no, that will not work. So you're like, I'm going to do it. And when it works, people are like, oh, that works too. I'll do that.
So are you passionate about cake, or you just happen to fall into the cake rut?
No, the scoop. I'm letting it all go today. I do not like cake.
Oh,
I don't eat cake. I don't like cake. I don't like the texture of it. I like the smell of it.
Okay, so you don't really like cake. I mean, do you like decorating it though? Do you enjoy the?
I do. To me, it's very much an art medium.
Yeah,
and that's how I approach it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the stuff I make, it's not meant to look like cake. I want the character realism. So I do see it as more of a sculpting art sort of an exercise.
Hey, ChoppA, shifting gears, you mentioned way back at the start of the conversation, we're getting into YouTube, like someone mentioned to you the community side of all this, and you're kind of like, I think you said something like you laughed at it, or so why would people?
I did. I actually made fun of it.
You are like Mr. YouTube community, because you met
thousands,
crap ton of creators, both here and across the world? Because you are.
I was going to say, like, I think it comes from starting out and then finding people that do things differently to you. And I'm constantly surprised by what people can do and what they put on YouTube. I just think it's fascinating. I met a woman who shows you how to clean your house. There's a guy that stitches little characters that are in my background. I'm just fascinated by creative people and their processes. So it didn't really become about YouTube itself, but then once you get involved in it and you start meeting other creators, and like Damie Lou you had on the show, I met her through YouTube. She's now one of my best friends. I'm her biggest fan. I love watching how she works. I love her voice. It's just lucky that we clicked and we met at a gathering, and it's those sort of things that just connecting with people that are what I say my kind of people, my tribe.
That's awesome. Because if anyone's been to any VidCon, I think anywhere, but definitely in the US or Australia,
even I went to London too.
And the London, right? There you go. Like, I'd be like, they've probably come across you almost.
VidCon is my Christmas. Yeah, honestly, like
of goon.
No, I feel very seen right now. Can I leave? I watched VidCon start when the first 5 happened. Like they happened to meet up in that basement. And then I watched it progressively get bigger, and I always wanted to go. And because like I didn't go till 2015. So I'd been watching YouTube for 8 years. Maybe, is that my math? Long time.
Yeah.
So I walk into a room and there's Mamrie Hart. There's Philip DeFranco. There's Fred. These are people I've watched from woe to go. I just love that, being able to have a conversation with them, because I never thought I would get the chance to meet them or even talk to them or, bring up something.
And with your experience with creators all across the world and big, small, what's your take on all that? Like, why is there a universal thing that is binding everyone together?
I think that has shifted, and that's purely just my observation of it. There's a lot of people that want to be a creator now because it's a stepping stone to get somewhere. And a lot of people think it's an easy job, which they soon learn that it's not. Yes, it's the greatest job in the world, but there's a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see. So I think we've got a very mixed group of creators now, whereas back in the day, it was more someone who just had something cool to share that they loved, not necessarily, let me state that clearly, like whether it be their personality, some sort of talent, some sort of storytelling ability, they had some kind of niche about them. And now there's a lot of creators that jump on what's good. There's a lot of copycat creators that I notice. So it's definitely changed the level of type of creator. And I mean, who wouldn't want to be in on it? I don't blame them one bit. Like, it's a very cool place to be in.
Is there any like series of tips you can give upcoming creators? Like, is there a top 3 tips you have for emerging creators?
Yeah, don't. No, that's my favorite. I get asked that question a lot, and that's my favorite response. No, I think it's genuinely be true to yourself. It's the old cliche things. Be passionate about it. Use those tips that I was given. Is it family friendly? Is it something you can repeat over and over and keep it fresh? Is it something that you want to be a part of? Actually, the biggest bit of advice, don't compare yourself to others. That's a creator's biggest downfall, I think.
ChoppA, starting off on YouTube now is very different to when you very, very first started, and it can take a while. But what sort of success should people be looking for? Or what should they be looking to measure themselves against? Maybe not looking at just views and subscriber count. Like, how do they?
Yeah, see, I would say if you're looking for success, seriously, don't do it. It's not worth that. What you should be looking for is to make something to the best of your ability and be proud of it. Because that shit's infectious. I look at people that I've seen grow from 50 subs to well over millions now. And it's because they just believed in what they did. They were passionate about what they did.
And that
is brilliant. We cannot top that.
No, we can't. I reckon that's
Everything everyone needs to hear.
That is exactly right. Be true to yourself. Do it your way. Absolutely. Mate, thanks so much for joining us. And it's been a fun one. And hopefully we'll chat soon.
Thanks, Chopper.
Have a good one.
Create a generation. Look on the mic.